Shalom. I want to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakaha Kadesh. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishop of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayak Allah, and this is part 11 of How Do I Know, or how do I know that we are the Israelites? And when I say we, I'm referring to the so-called blacks, Latinos, and the native of this land that you call America. And Salaki, I should say Hebrew Israelites. And this will be part 11. And we're just gonna touch a little bit just on part 10, just on where we left off, and go from there. And this won't be long because, as I said, we're gonna go through this. And I'm trying to make sure that I stay on point as far as staying, not going too deep into the whole book of Genesis. But as I said, we would skip around and not covering a whole chapter, but I do want to touch on the points that are going to lead us in a direction that we're going, is to find out who are the Israelites and how do I know that we are the Hebrew Israelites. And I'm just going to pick up from Genesis chapter 30 and verse 12, where this is where Leah's maid Zilpah had given birth to Asher. In the Paleo Hebrew, his name would be Ashar. That means happy. So I'm going to pick up at verse 12. It says, "And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher." So just reading that verse, you can see there why his name, it means happy. Verse 14, And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. Now, if you remember from the last part that we did, part 10, we were talking about how they were almost like in a contest, going back and forth to see who can bear children for Jacob, because they know how important it was to bear sons and bring children to their husband. Because at this time, women recognized that was what was important, was being fruitful and bringing forth children. So we're going to take a look and see what mandrakes are. And I'm going to be looking in the Blue Letter Dictionary, the Blue Letter Bible, and we're going to get a definition of what mandrakes are and why they seem to be so important. And I'll give you a pronunciation of the word. Is mandrakes is H1736. So when the Hebrew is pronounced Dutai. And it says, let's see if we can get a definition here. It says mandrake. love apple as exciting sexual desire and favoring procreation. So it's like a kind of like an aphrodisiac. Let's see. So it's something that would kind of boost their potency and help them in bringing forth children. So you can see why they were kind of important, and this is why Rachel wanted some of the mandrakes. And I'll read verse 15. It says, "And she said unto her, It is a small matter that thou hast taken my husband. And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes." So basically what Rachel did here was, it was her turn to be with Jacob, but instead instead of being with him that night, she decided that she would allow him to be with Leah if Leah would give her some of the mandrakes that Reuben had just harvested. So you can see they're really vying for the attention of Jacob. They want to be the one. Each wife wants to be the wife to bring forth children. Verse 16. "And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night." So he went with Leah that night because she had hired him. And I want you to pay attention to that word, hired. Verse 17. "And the Most High hearkened to Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, The Most High hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar." Now the name Issachar in the Hebrew would be Yashakar, and that means he is hired. And I'm just going to go over to Genesis chapter 49 and 14, because this is where we're going ahead, but this is where Jacob had gathered all his sons to speak to them all at once. And it's just going to give some more meaning to the to Issachar, to Issachar's name. And I'm going to go to 49 and verse 14. It says, "Issachar is a strong ass crouching down between two burdens." So it just gives you an indication that, like I said, Issachar means he is hired. So they're this tribe of people. This is one of the 12 tribes in the nation of Israel, and this particular tribe are very hard-working people. So I'm going to go back over to to chapter 30. And at verse 19 says, "And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, The Most High hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun." So here she even had a 6th son for Jacob. And I'm going to read that verse again. It says, and Leah said, the Most High has endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me. Now she was pleased that her husband dwelled with, that Jacob dwelled with her. So I'm going to give you the definition of Zebulun, which is what they named the sixth son. And in the Hebrew it's pronounced Zabalawan. And it means just that. It means dwelling. And I'm going to go over to chapter 49 and we'll just see if we can back that up with the meaning. In chapter 49 and verse 13 it says, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. And as we get ready to really go further into these names and these meanings and where these particular peoples dwell today, these definitions will really come to light and really make a lot more sense. But I'm not going to go into it right now, just because I want to stay on course here and try to get a little bit further as we go on, finding out how we know we are the Israelites. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to go to verse 21. And it says, and afterward she bare a daughter and called her name Dinah. So she also bare a daughter for Jacob. Verse 22, and the Most High remembered Rachel, and the Most High hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, the Most High hath taken away my reproach. And let's take a look and see what that word reproach means. We're going into the blue letter. It is H2781, and I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H2781. Cherpa. Cherpa.
So reproach in the Hebrew is cherpa, and it means scorn, taunt, scorn upon enemy. Reproach, it says a condition of shame, disgrace. So just to reiterate how important it was at this time for women to have children. So that's one of the reasons why they wanted so much to be able to bring forth children for Jacob, because it would take away their shame. If a woman was not able to bear a child, it was a shame at that particular time. Just as it is now, it's just a world that we live in right now. It's just so wicked that our women are more consumed with trying to get rid of children rather than to bear and bring forth children. But our righteous sisters at this time knew how important it was to bring forth children. Now I'm back in chapter 30 of Genesis. Reading on, and verse 22 says, and the Most High remembered Rachel, and the Most High hearkened to her and opened her womb, And she conceived and bare a son, and said, The Most High hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord Yahweh shall add to me another son. So she brought forth a son, Joseph. And let's just take a look and see what that name Joseph means. Again, I'm looking in the blue letter. And it is H3130, and I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H3130. Yosef. Yosef.
And as I said before, some of these pronunciations are in the blue letter are Yiddish. So that in the Paleo Hebrew, his name would be Yawasap. And the meaning says Yahweh has added, and he is the eldest son of Jacob by Rachel. And I'm going to just go over to verse 27. I'm in Genesis chapter 30, verse 27. And Laban said unto him, speaking to Jacob, says, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord Yahweh hath blessed me for thy sake. So Laban's realizing that because Jacob has spent so much time there and has taken wives, that the Lord is blessing Laban and making his land more fruitful, and multiplying the number of lamb and cattle and things that he has. Because Jacob was actually there for a number of years. He was there for 21 years, I believe. And I am skipping over a lot of this just in an effort to stay on track. But this is very, all of these chapters are very important, and you should go and read the whole book of Genesis. And I wish that I was able to go through and read the whole book, but because of time, I want to be able to stay on track and stay on point on what we're trying to find out. So that's the reason why I'm jumping around so much. And I'll try to fill in as much as I can. Like I said, Jacob had worked for Laban for a number of years, for 21 years. And verse 28, and he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, Thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me, for it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord Yahweh hath blessed thee since my coming. And now, when shall I provide for my own house also? So Jacob is letting Laban know that the Lord has blessed Laban because of Jacob's being there and Jacob's diligence and working for Laban. And he wants to be able to leave now because he has been there for a while, and he wants to be able to go and provide for his own family. So he wants to hit the wages that he's earned from Laban. Verse 31, and he said, What shall I give thee? This is Laban replying. He says, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said, Thou should not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from hence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So he wants to be able to take a certain number of sheep. And as I'll read that again, it says, I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, for of such shall be my hire. So he wants to be able to take, for his payment, he wants to be able to take the brown cattle among his sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. Verse 33 says, so shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he goats that were ringed, straked, and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. So Laban's really not being fair. He's being a little underhanded with Jacob. All right, and like I said, we're going to be jumping around a little bit, so I'm going to move forward and go into chapter 32. And we're going to start at about and you know what, I'm going to go ahead and start at verse verse 1, because we're going to find that this is Jacob having taken his family, and he's taken his wives and their handmaids, and he's going to go back into his own land, the land of his fathers, which is back into Canaan. I'm going to start at verse 1. This is chapter 32. It says, and Jacob went on his way, and the angels of the Most High met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is the Most High's host. And he called his name that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir and the country of Edom. So this is where he's going past Edom. This is where his brother Esau is dwelling, in Edom. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find grace in thy sight. So he's trying to go back, and because he wants to be able to make peace, so to speak, with his brother Esau. And he wants to be able to offer him gifts, because he doesn't know what state of mind Esau is in at this point. So he wants to be able to offer him gifts. It says, and the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. So the messengers had went forward ahead of Jacob to speak with Esau. It says, verse 7, and Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 bands, and said, if Esau come to the the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. So he divided all the people up that were amongst him into two groups, so that, and he sent one group ahead on his way to meet his brother. And he, just because of him not knowing what Esau's demeanor is or what state of mind he is, he would be able to preserve his family by dividing up the group that he's with, and he's sending some ahead, because if Esau met him and decided that he wanted to smite all the servants that Jacob had sent ahead of him, he would know what kind of state of mind Esau was in. And Esau said, if Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai of my father Abraham, and the power of my father Isaac, the Lord Yahweh which saidest unto me, return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal with thee. And I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands. It says, deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And I'm going to go ahead and jump down to verse 22. And it says, and he rose up that night, and he took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled with a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, and he wrestled with him. So this is an angel that Jacob is wrestling with. Verse 26, and he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. So the angel was wrestling with Jacob, and Jacob would not let loose of the angel, because the angel was ready to depart, for day was breaking. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. So Jacob's asking the angel for a blessing. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with the Most High, and with men, and hast prevailed. So there would be the blessing that the angel was giving Jacob, because the angel saw that Jacob would not let him go until he was given a blessing by the angel. So he had prevailed over the angel. So the angel said that he was going to change his name from Jacob to Israel, which is where we get the name, because as I said before, a couple lessons back, Israel is a people, and this is where you see Jacob is named Israel. It's a people before it was placed, because the place that he was traveling back to where his father was not called Israel as of yet. It was called Canaan. So this is why we say, and this is what proves that Israel is a people before it is a place. And I'm going to go into the blue letter, and we're going to see what the meaning of Israel is. And what its pronunciation is in the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, it is pronounced Yashar Allah. Yar being he, Shar meaning prince, and Allah means power. So just as it reads in verse 28, it says, "And he said, thy name shall be no more called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with the Most High and with men, and hast prevailed." So there you have the meaning right there in verse 28 of what Israel means. He is a prince with power as long as you're dwelling with the Most High. And we're going to go into the blue letter and see what that definition is there. And it is H3478. And I'll give you the pronunciation. You have to keep in mind, as I said, in the blue letter, these pronunciations are in Yiddish, which is not the language that we speak. We speak the Paleo Hebrew, the Lashawan HaKodesh.
Strong's H3478. Yisrael. Yisrael.
And I'll give you the definition. It says, the Most High prevails. The second name for Jacob given to him by the Most High after his wrestling with the angel at Peniel. The name of the descendants and the nation of the descendants of Jacob. So you begin to see that the nation of Israel is being formed because the sons are born, and they are the progenitors of the 12 tribes. Their offspring are the descendants of what makes up the 12 tribes of Israel. Now I'm going to stop here, and we'll get a little bit more further into it on our next lesson as we're beginning to see how the nation of Israel is being formed. And I pray that this lesson has been edifying to you. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, HaKadosh. Shalom.